All right, in this video, we are going to evaluate these limit questions, and all these questions involve absolute functions. So let's take a look at the first question over here. Whenever we have an absolute, we're going to start by subbing in our limit as usual. So 3 minus 3 is 0, absolute of 0 is 0, 3 minus 3 on the bottom is 0. So I will get 0 over 0, which is an indeterminate case, which means we have to try and evaluate this limit in a different way. Whenever you have absolute functions, you want to split your absolute function into a left-sided and right-sided function. So I'm going to show you how to do that. We're going to start by making the left-sided function, and that is represented with a 3 and a negative. When you do the left-sided function, you're going to replace the absolute sign with a bracket and a negative in front of the bracket. That is the left-sided limit there. I'm going to do the right-sided limit over here. The right-sided limit is represented by lim x approaches 3 from the positive side. And instead of the absolute sign, you will just put a regular bracket and write that. Basically a positive outside the bracket, but we don't need to put a positive there because it's already implied. So this is your first step for any absolute question where you get an indeterminate form. You split it into the left side and the right side limit. And then we're going to compute each one separately. So over here, I can just cancel out the x minus 3's, and I'm just left with negative 1 over 1, which is basically negative 1. There's no x to even sub in the 3 into this one. So left side limit is negative 1. For the right side limit, I can cancel those. I'm just left with lim x approaches 3 from the positive side, 1 over 1, which is just positive 1. Again, no x to sub in. Now, the left-sided limit does not match the right-sided limit, which means that the limit does not exist for this question over here because the left side and right side limit don't match. They can always ask you a question like this and put a little tiny plus or minus there to indicate the left side or right side limit. The left side limit is negative 1. The right side limit is positive 1, but the actual limit at that point does not exist. Let's take a look at some of the other questions now to understand some other possibilities. Second question over here. Again, I'm going to split this into my left-sided limit. So from the negative side, all right, the top, the exact same. For the absolute, I will replace it with a negative and a bracket. That's what you always do for the left-handed side. For the right-handed side, you just write it the exact same, but you just replace the absolute with a regular bracket. Now I want to simplify both of these. So this x plus 5 will cancel with that, and that will become a square. So I'm just left with lim x approaches negative 5 from the negative side, x plus 5 square over negative 1 over here. I can now sub in my limit of negative 5 for x. That's just negative 5 plus 5 square divided by negative 1, which is 0 over negative 1, which is just 0. And let's do the right-sided limit next. I can cancel this, and this turns into a square. So I'm just left with x plus 5 square on the top. The bottom is just a positive 1, so I don't even need it anymore. I can sub in my limit into this. So negative 5 plus 5 squared is just 0 squared, which is also 0. So now if you notice, the left side limit and the right side limit are both exactly the same, which means that the answer to this question is just a 0. The two limits match. That is the answer to the actual question. If the two limits do not match, means that the limit does not exist. Let's do these two more examples just for a bit of practice. Let's start with this one here. Now we have a quadratic equation. So my first step is to actually factor this before splitting into the left side and right side limit. So if you can factor, always do that first. That's a simple trinomial. What multiplies to 4 adds to 5. It's just 1 and 4. Also, if I subbed in the original limit into this, I would get 0 over 0. Same for this last question. Same for that one there. They are all indeterminate cases. So now I'm going to split it into my left side and right side limit. So x approaches -1 from the negative side. I'll replace the absolute with a negative and a bracket. And on the right side over here, it'll be lim x approaches -1 from the positive side, positive x plus 1 over x plus 1, x plus 4. So now I just have to simplify each one and see whether the limits match or not. I can cancel these over here. It's left with lim x approaches -1 from the negative side, -1 over x plus 4. And then if I sub in -1 into this equation, I'll get -1 over -1 plus 4, which is just -1 over 3. So my left-sided limit is -1 over 3. Let's do my right-sided limit next. Cancel out the x plus 1s. I'm just left with 1 over x plus 4. Can sub in -1 into this. That's just 1 over -1 plus 4, which is now positive 1 over 3. So the right-sided limit is positive 1 over 3. The left-sided limit is -1 over 3, which means that the limit does not exist because they do not match exactly in this question. And let's go to the last question over here. Again, I have a quadratic equation on the top, so I'll factor that. That's just what multiplies to 9 adds to -3. It's just x minus 3 squared. Basically either a perfect square or a simple trinomial. Next step, I can do my left side and right-sided limit. So let's start with the left-sided one. This approaches 3 from the negative side. Top is going to stay the same. The bottom, I'm going to put a negative and put an x minus 3. And then let's squeeze in my right-sided limit over here. It's just x minus 3 square over positive x minus 3. So now what I can do is I can simplify. I can cancel the x minus 3 in the square. So over here, I'm left with lim x approaches 3 from the negative side, x minus 3 over -1. Can sub in my limit into this. 3 minus 3 is just a 0 over -1. 0 divided by -1 is 0. Let's do the positive side limit. Can cancel this square and this x minus 3. So I'm just left with x minus 3 over 1, which is x minus 3. I can sub in my limit. That's just 3 minus 3, which is also 0. The left side and right side limit are both same, which means my final answer for this question is the limit approaches 0. So what we notice in these questions is that if the left side and right side are not the same, the limit does not exist. If the left side and right side are the same, the answer is usually 0 in these questions for absolute functions. I'm not sure if there's an exception, but most of the questions I've done, when the limit does exist, it's generally at 0. That's just due to the properties of absolute functions. But again, there are probably exceptions, so I won't keep that as a hard rule. If you made it to the end of this video and you found this content helpful, please hit that like and subscribe button. Thank you for watching and have a wonderful day.